7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here in studio. We have Token Tony on mic number one, and I guess when you sit in that seat, I would imagine you are Fake Spike.
Spike would be proud of that nickname, yes.
Yeah, Pebble, or not Pebble.
You just need to grow out more of the beard.
What would a smaller Spike be? What would like a smaller, even though you're taller?
A thumbtack?
He's actually catching you in weight. He's losing it. He's losing it by like the person.
Yeah, he's like shut it off like 5 shells of him.
Jesus, I know. Anyways, what's going on, gentlemen? What's going on? Real Tony Johnson, Fake Spike, and what's going on, Token Tony?
Not much. Excited for another week of golf for sure, especially coming off that victory last week. So
we had a podcast win. It was very exciting. Maybe Sands.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah. I mean, Sands, our founder, who didn't apparently follow us with our pick, but that's okay. That's fine.
I won some matchup bets.
He could tell us on the next one.
Yes, he can. That's
I
right.
actually did a thing this weekend to. I'm going to be betting more golf, but I think I'm going to be betting a little bit of a different bet necessarily than what is offered stateside. I signed up for an offshore account. Is that legal to say? Can we say that on the podcast?
Maybe not, but that's fine.
Whatever. They don't know me. All of our listener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one from Canada.
Yeah, exactly. So I signed up for that site, put some money on, and actually I'm going to be betting a lot of T10s and T20s.
Ooh, the dark side. I like it.
Is that what that is?
Well, I mean, it would be like
I do bet the dark side in craps.
Yeah. It would be like a dark side craps better because you're basically
laying a little bit more.
Yes, and you're kind of people aren't always aren't betting on that usually, so you're just kind of doing different things. Like someone's rooting for someone to win, and you don't really give a shit because like you have them in the top 10.
I'm just
kind of that guy.
I mean,
which is fine. I think it's a fine thing to be. I'm not against it.
I see where your head is at because I get it, but I don't think that's necessarily betting the dark side because if you had Dustin Johnson and I had Dustin Johnson T10, I don't care if he wins because that's
true.
That's
You're
top
right,
10.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same thing.
It's comparable to, I would say, the dark side on craps almost.
I would compare it to the field bet on craps.
Okay.
I can have, I get 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11,
All right.
12.
So we're place betting, and then you're betting numbers, and like a 9 is hitting, and we're both sort of getting there.
We're both sort of getting there. You get a little bit more. Well, yeah, you'll get a little bit more than I do. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like trying to get my craps bet odds with me, but
fair enough.
Anyways, we want to thank the sponsors here real quick. Obviously, 12 Ounce Sports Radio for airing us every Monday and Wednesday while football season is on hiatus, at least the NFL. Also want to thank Vegas Puckline Apparel, who we'll have on this weekend.
Nice.
I'm not sure if we'll do it on the phone or if we'll do it in studio. There's a Knights game that day that he said he was going to, and we'll see if it all works out. One way or the other, I believe the guys over at Vegas Puckline Apparel will be on the podcast this weekend, as well as Eric on the Web Productions and ChaiPoker.com, also sponsors. We want to thank them as well. All right, recap last week. You did have a podcast win. I did not tell you with Dustin Johnson. I did like him over the favorite Justin Thomas. But I will say this, watching Dustin Johnson play, and not just a prisoner of the moment thing, but I would say over the last 2 years, it's Tiger-esque. In my opinion. And again, I'm more of a casual guy than you guys are, but when it seems like when the drive is good and the putting,
it just flows.
The putting was what he had to work on the most, which cost him a lot, in the beginning of his career. Now that he seems to have shortened that up, he seems, untouchable is not the right word, but he seems like a tough out.
Yeah, I think that's a good word choice for that. I mean, when he's hot, he's definitely going to win a lot of tournaments by not only one stroke but multiple strokes. Given that, so
yeah, I think you said it best. Aaron, when the short game is around, it's not just putting too. I think anything within 100 yards. That was another thing that he's worked on a lot the last couple of years. It's a deadly player when he's that accurate off the tee and that long. So yeah, it was it's something to watch when he's on his game. It's a really, really fun time. Both him and Rory, who made a late charge as well.
Yeah, 1 and 2
is,
there.
Yeah, it's really kind of a fun time. And there's so many great players.
Thing for golf, though.
Yeah, there's so many great players that when they are on and playing 100% of their game, they are just really, really, really hard to beat. I mean, we've seen Jordan Spieth run away from fields before. We've seen Justin Thomas run away from fields. We've seen some guys do this. Justin Rose, even twice in the last 4 or 5 months, has had 4 or 5 shot victories. It's it's fun to see. There's so many great young players from all over the world too, not just Americans, which is I think. Going not only growing the game, but I think it's nice to get a different perspective from where people are from, and it's not just Americans anymore.
Fair enough. All right, I will let you guys take a couple minutes here and just recap the WGC Mexico, how you did, how'd it go, a couple of the bets you want to talk about that went well, a couple bets that you want to talk about that didn't go quite so well. I know you had DJ, so that's obviously one that went well. He was about 9 or 11 to 1 last week?
11, yeah.
Yeah, 11 to 1.
So that's always a good hit, especially if you got 10, 15, 20, $40 on it.
Yeah, I actually had a little more than that on that, and actually had the ticket on it too.
Yeah, that was nice when Token told me about it, because almost everything I do is now on the app world. So yeah, Token said he actually had a ticket, which is. I did get a little bit jealous of the fact that he had a ticket and I did not. I will admit that. That's
Why
how.
so?
Because
just to have that hard copy?
There is something still about the actual paper ticket of it.
There's a feel. It's a winner.
You also just show up at the window and there's just something euphoric about you put a little bit of money
There's something
down
cool
and you
about
win a
customer
lot.
collects.
It is kind of awesome,
especially on 11 to 1.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun to cash, especially
future. 125 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean that also
nice.
That wasn't a ticket either. But yeah, it was still kind of. There's something about cashing a ticket like that. Now, I will say this though: if I had a choice, despite my love affair of the tickets, between always betting with a ticket and always betting with the app, I would choose the app. Just because of the fact of having to handle the tickets, dealing with it, convenience, yes.
Handle the tickets. Yeah, I've kept a few tickets in the wallet. Like I had that Colts futures bet for the NFL that we talked about all throughout the year. Well, I finally took it out of my wallet and it was starting to fade. It started to fade. I'm like, oh man.
Yep.
So a lot of my tickets that I still have winners on are in a
it's like rain checks for golf course.
Baggie.
Yeah, you put them in the bag. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like rain checks for golf course. You gotta keep that hidden in the
But
dark
you got to be
cover.
careful with that. I mean, you, sir, as a professional bettor, have a lot more time on your hands than the two of us who have 40-hour work weeks. I've heard stories, and we'll get back to your picks from the WGC, but I've heard stories that a lot of times these apps actually, put another nickel or 10 cents on you just for the convenience of not having to go in the sportsbook.
So yeah, I've heard the same thing. I have not actually myself, had app in hand, seen a line, and then had been at the book and seen a different line yet. I have heard that is the case potentially. And then the other thing that's happened,
I haven't heard about the lines. I'm just talking about the juice.
The juice, attached to a bet.
I've heard the 5 cents, and people have asked.
I've heard of it too. I personally have not seen that. I've stood in front of like a window for one of the properties, and
the two I've heard that have been guilty of doing that are Stations and Cantor.
Okay.
Again, I can't.
I don't have either of those apps, so
I don't have the apps either. But I spend a lot of time on the strip, not really in a sports book, but this is just what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say is, and I don't think this is related to what you're talking about, is I have had a line move for me, but I don't think had moved overall yet. When I tried to make a bet, this would be on one or two. It's happened twice now on two different books for prop betting. So I don't know if that's related at all. But I tried to put a bet in for a specified amount on the app, and then they denied the bet. And then I went back to the homepage on the app, and the number was still the same. And then I looked it up on, I happened to be close enough by, so I walked where I could to see it, and it had changed, or it was a different number, in the sports book. And then I refreshed my app, and it had refreshed too. So I don't know if maybe another person was making a large bet, and it would just happen to be coincidental. I don't know, but I tend not to believe in coincidences, so I'm guessing that had maybe moved. And again,
bet a few games or whatever, especially big underdogs or whatever, where I've moved the line personally probably about 20 points or at least
Wow.
there was that much handle.
Really? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so...
Do I know? What did you move 20 points?
A baseball game.
You mean 20 cents?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, baseball games don't go 20 points. I get what you're
20
saying.
cents.
That's still a lot, though. I mean,
That's a hell of a bet.
They were
yeah.
like plus 350, and after I made my bet, I ended up it didn't come through, but
Yeah, I mean...
Still,
just,
it would
drop
take a
down
lot
to
to move it that much, but I get what you're saying.
I just think the handle must be just not...
It was just shy of four
huge.
figures.
Yeah. Oh.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That would probably do it. For a baseball
Yeah.
game, I think, because I don't think their handle is enormous for those games, so that would make sense. Yeah.
And I'm shocked, actually, with that, because I've seen and heard and read a lot more people who their bread and butter is baseball. So, anyways, let's get back into the golf. DJ won, 21 under. We'll talk about some other bets you guys had that like good bets, bad bets, bets you thought, just talk general about your recap and how you guys did last week.
Overall, my matchups for WGC wasn't that good. A lot of mine had Louis Oosthuizen and Bubba Watson, who didn't really pan out that well. But, I mean, with the DJ hit, I am coming out pretty good on this one. So
For me, I was anti a couple of guys, and it was fortunate that a few of them came through. Two of the main ones were Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau for different reasons.
those were all towards the bottom.
Because Mickelson was old. Remember you saying that?
Mickelson's old. That was essentially the main one, and
The elevation and everything. I remember these things.
yeah, you do. And then Bryson, for a combination of reasons, the amount of play that he's put in the last 3 months, I think, is starting to catch up to him. And then we add into the fact that now we're playing at 7,000 feet plus. And also, I believe the fit. I just don't think the course really fits his type of skill set. So those worked out nicely. Again, there was only one bet against DeChambeau, and that was Xander Schauffele. But that one looked good from the get-go. And then we had a couple, Schauffele as well against Mickelson, Matsu against Mickelson. Did lose a bet that looked really good early. This is just a lot of fun. I had Spieth over Paul Casey, and I think Spieth, he had a nice first round. He was 3 or 4 under or something like that, and Paul Casey was a few over. You don't really care that much about the first round, especially in a non-cut event. But as the week progressed, that looked like one of the worst bets on the board. I think Spieth finished, 5 or 6 over, and
Casey finished T4 or something
Casey
like that, right?
got into the top 5 by the end of it. So that was
that was kind of shocking.
You gotta
when
always
start off like +3 or something like
find
that.
a way to laugh a little bit, here and there.
I think he
It's
finished
just
14 under par, 13, 14 under par.
He just lit up the final 3 rounds.
Not a good bet. Now that one was plus 120, so clearly the side of the favorite was by far the right side there with Paul Casey. I really thought there was a lot of value at the plus 120, but no,
It makes
definitely
it tough
not.
with those full-blown tournament matchups too, because
Especially
you
no cut,
have
yeah.
a first,
Especially with the no cut.
Yeah.
you have a first-round matchup, first-round bet, and you have Spieth versus Casey, and you have a guy who literally comes out with a clunker like that, and you feel good about it. But over the course of 4 days, you're right, anything's possible.
Yep.
But you talk about Spieth, and I want to touch on that just a little bit.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, if you follow golf, there was a lot of chatter about Spieth's regular caddy missing the WGC Mexico, and who would be on his bag? Well, his dad. And while that wouldn't usually create a lot of stir, over the last few weeks we had the Matt Kuchar problem. And I wonder if Jordan Spieth was like, I'm not even taking a fucking chance. Pops, get your ass down. We're going to Mexico.
That's got to be a fun time for him, though.
I understand. I'm just saying, trying to find a backup caddy, especially now you're going down into Mexico where Kuchar had that issue with El Tucan. That wasn't the same. This wasn't the same tournament, but my point being is that, you don't want to go down there and start making backdoor handshake deals, and clearly we saw what happened with the first one.
Yep, I agree. I think there was a potentially, it was in the back of the mind at least, and while maybe not to take a chance, and I'm sure that his dad caddied for him when he was a junior, here and there at times. So it was probably the added fun part of it too. But yes, I think there's no question that was. It certainly has to be in everyone's mind with how close Kuchar may have gotten to losing some major sponsors over something like this. I mean, it's just really probably something that is still being thought about and talked about on tour. I don't think there's any question about that.
So, all right, let's talk about the course. If there's one person I know that's sitting in this room knows about the course, it is you, sir, and that is PGA National in Palm Beach Gardens. What type of course do we have here, and with that type of course, what does it really favor? What golfers do you think it favors?
Yeah, this is fantastic. This is one of those weeks of the year where we can really count on a few things for sure. This course stands out more than most others in a few aspects. So, first one is it's a par 70, which is becoming a little bit less common as the years progress here. Courses are more playing to their regular par. So to give you an idea, a lot of courses that might be a par 71 or 72 because they have 3 or 4 par 5s, they tend to get lessened when the PGA Tour shows up. Is they shorten those par 5s to par 4s, and just because the lengthwise or whatever. But now the Tour is trying to make a huge push to playing on courses where they can maintain that par and they can maintain what the course sort of the design of it to be. This one is designed to be a par 70. It is a par 70. So with that being said, it's 71 and change, almost 7,200 yards, which is pretty long for a par 70 because there's only 2 par 5s. And this is one of the most difficult courses that players are going to play all year. Difficult for a variety of reasons. I think the first one that people talk about is there's a trio of holes on the back nine called the Bear Trap. Holes 15, 16, and 17. This was created on the redesign by Jack Nicklaus back in the early 1990s. I can't remember who the original designer was, but it doesn't really matter. They wanted to make the course a PGA signature type of course. They wanted it to host a regular tour event, and so they brought Jack in to do this. And basically, he created a couple of par 3s. One was already a par 3, but on 17 was not. It was a par 4, condensed to a par 3, a long shot over water. And so it... there's the run of a par 3 to par 4 to par 3 where pretty much you have to be on point with every single shot and then putt on a tough undulating green.
To come out with pars.
Yeah, like pars are a great score. So I think the finishing 3 out of 4 holes that are extremely difficult is a signature part of this event. And then we usually have added is quite a bit of wind. In this area of the country, especially in this time of the year, usually there's quite a bit of wind at this time. So you have a difficult golf course, which is relatively specific on where you need to place the ball. Ball placement, especially off the tee, is important. You have a lot of wind that becomes a factor. And then number 3, they set up the course usually a little bit more difficult than normal. The greens run at about a 12 to a 12.5 on the Stimpmeter, which is basically about how fast a green will run. Average on tour is about 11.5. So greens are running a little bit faster as well. So it's just a very, very difficult course. So best players, or while they would fit this course, would be players that don't necessarily have to be long, don't necessarily have to be great putters. It's more of a consistent all-around game and a player that is not going to get phased by things. So you're going to hit some bad shots, and you are going to get penalized badly by those bad shots.
That's how you can recover off.
Recovering and leaving yourself the best chance to, if you don't have a good, you're in a bad spot for the hole, think about making bogey. Bogey becomes a good score. If you hit the ball into the rough in a bad spot or whatever, don't try to hit a miracle shot to make try to make birdie or try to get out of there. But know that if I can put this ball maybe not in the fairway on my next shot, but in a spot in the rough where it gives me a good angle to the green, I can take double bogey and more out of the equation completely.
Yep.
Bogey's the worst score I can make. So I hit a terrible drive and only make a bogey on a tough hole.
You got to feel kind of good about that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of bittersweet, but yeah, maybe even a 30-foot putt for par, and you have a chance for saving par. Still better than risking a triple even.
Correct. Totally correct. So yeah, we've seen it. Adam Scott, when he won the tournament 3 years ago, had a 7-shot lead on Saturday and made a quadruple on the first of the Bear Trap on hole 15, and all of a sudden the tournament was right back into anyone's game. So it's things like that can happen.
The door.
So
yeah, I was looking at some of the numbers and looking at some of the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking at some of the celebrity that is the Bear Trap, and it's like going through one of the gauntlets. It's according to the numbers I was looking at on PGA, the 3 holes, the 15, 16, and 17, were among the 15 hardest holes on the PGA Tour, and 17 alone is the hardest non-major hole in the last 10 years. Like over the last 10 years, it's been the hardest non-major hole. So you take the 4 majors out and the courses that they're played at, and it is in 17, like you said, par is a great score, and it's actually averaging it looks like 0.53 strokes over par on hole 17.
It's amazing. A half a shot over par. It's incredible. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right. It's definitely has its its reputation of notoriety, and not in a good way, obviously. But they're going to have to go through it 4 times, and the guys who can do it, like you said, not get too rattled or shaken. And like you said, if a bogey is a good score in some spots, rather than tail spinning out and pulling a Kevin Na or a John Daly when double-digit shots, that's the kind of approach you have to take sometimes. So let's take a look, and obviously the bear trap will be a talking point for these guys who we will go over later. But let's take a look at the field in general. A lot of people have graded the field strength as a C, even with Koepka, Fowler, Thomas, all still in those are some of the 3 most notable guys, and also 3 of the guys playing good golf right now. But as far as the guys who are in that second tier and the bottom tier, it's not a lot of names you recognize. A lot of people are giving it a B- or a C+. This is kind of a weird one to say because, I mean, as a golf handicapper, when the field is not a bunch of notable guys, is that a plus or a minus for a guy like you? And again, this may not be a notoriety field to us, but it may be a more notable field to you. But
usually a plus. Although I am famous for a few friends that I talk to back at home where I talk about how great the field is. They think pretty much every week I say this because I love to watch all the players play. And to me, the number 72 player in the world who's rising, a guy, a small-time guy maybe from Australia, like I've been on Cameron Smith, for a while now, the last couple of years. People like that, he may not be well known, but I'm really excited to watch him because I think that's a strong part of the field, even though he may not be recognized as. So I'm kind of not the best person to ask. I'm very biased. I love the game so much.
I mean, from a personal
yes,
standpoint.
no, I understand. Yes.
Me personally, I like a good mix of people that could potentially win, as well as some of the big names out of it, because it gets some of those lesser names a chance to creep up towards the top 10s
and win a PGA event. I mean, an event that if it's the only one they ever come across. I mean, if I'm just going to pick a name down here. If I'm
Blaine Barber,
Taylor Gooch, I don't know who that is. So if I win one tournament in my life, I can say I went up against Justin Thomas, Ricky
one for
Fowler,
the trophy case,
Brooks Koepka, Adam Scott, Sergio Garcia, all major winners.
Yeah,
and I beat them. Beat them over 4 rounds.
On a really difficult course, too. I mean, this is a big-time week here. So, yeah. I think the Tour players are feeling that this is a big-time week, a legit spot. Now, where this is on the schedule also has hurt. So this used to be in a much better spot on the schedule. We didn't have the players in March the way it was back in May, the last 10 years or so. So this became more of a big time event in March. It was an event that people made sure they pretty much played for the most part, along with the Arnold Palmer later in the month.
So I was going to say, because especially with the Players Championship moving up, you got this what they call a Florida swing, and now you've got what many call the 5th major in this Florida swing.
Right, and this tournament got squeezed. So if we look the last 2 weeks, we've had incredible fields from L.A. to Mexico.
If there's a week to take off, it seems like
it has to be this one because Arnie's next week, and then you have the Players. It's just, I mean, this. They got hit by the schedule a little bit here. But again, I mean, yes, you say that, but I still think that this is a strong enough field and a field with enough quality players sort of, simmering, maybe, more towards the bottom, that I think this is one of those weeks that, yes, I certainly feel like I can do some damage and find some good spots. So, no, I relish weeks like this, absolutely.
I was going to say, it also may make for a good time to attack the handle as well, because DJ, Tiger, Phil, guys like that aren't in this, so a lot of the casual golf bettors are like, man, I'll lay off this week.
True.
I'll take a week off just like these guys do.
That's true. Yep.
So it'd be a shot to attack the handle. I mean, you talked about this, but this makes for a busy schedule for guys like Ricky and Justin and Brooks Koepka, because they all played. They've all played a few of these daunting weeks in a row.
Especially Justin. He hasn't taken a week off. I think this is his 4th now in a row. So yeah, this is a big one for him. I'm surprised he's playing this event. I know he just won it. I realize he's defending champion, but
is that almost kind of the thing? Let's talk about Justin for a little bit. He's 5-1. He's the favorite, not named the field. But yes, he is a defending champ. He's got 4 straight top 10s, or 4 top 10s in his last 5 starts. He also shot a course record at the WGC at 62 as well. So, what to say? I mean, he's playing the hottest golf of anybody in the field, not named. Actually, I would say probably playing the hottest golf right now. Unless you dissent.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. He would be the guy I would probably name for sure. Absolutely.
I thought Rory was in the field, and I looked. I was like, well, Rory's playing good golf too, but yeah, he's not in the field. So Justin Thomas right now, obviously, rightfully so, is the favorite. Picking the favorite's always hard because it's not a lot of value. But is there anything worthy to take in a 5-1 guy who is playing great golf at this point?
In my mind, it's hard not to take him, but at 5-1, I don't see value there. And
that's one of the most favorites I've seen, and I get the field is thinned, but usually you see the favorite at 8 or 9 to 1.
It's still a tough field.
Oh, sure, and he still has to go out and play the same course they do, and a lot of these guys, like I said, you can put together 4 rounds of golf and win a tournament.
Garcia is still playing it. Fowler's still playing it.
Brooks Koepka. There's a few guys down in the middle of the pack too.
Fiedrich.
I mean, Ricky Fowler won this 2 years ago.
From the past even. And
so 5-1. I mean, do you sprinkle a little bit just to feel good to have the ticket, like we talked about last week with DJ, or do you just lay off this one altogether?
I think you just lay off this one. I don't like him at 5-1. If it was 10-1, maybe I would like it a little more, but I'd still wouldn't feel comfortable.
I'm in layoff mode too, and based on what Token said, if he'd be a little bit more comfortable at 10-1 versus 5. Well, that's a huge difference. So I think that statement he just made there says a lot. With probably where we stand.
I still probably won't even
on the
bet
5.
him at 10-1.
You still wouldn't do it at 10, yeah. So this is not the best fit, I don't think, for Justin Thomas. He is not. Yes, while he's playing great, he still only made 2 out of 4 cuts here in his 4 appearances. The 2 that he missed, he really wasn't all that close, to be honest with you, either. He was playing extremely well coming into one of those as well 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So, it's not the exact best spot. He's a guy that he can miss some shots here and there, badly, and it's just this is the type of course you can make some big numbers. So, I don't feel like it makes a whole lot of sense, but I can understand why people are. They want to have the chance that give themselves the best likely scenario of maybe having a winning ticket, and clearly he's the favorite for a reason, but
sure,
to me not enough at 5.
All right. Well, what about some of these guys? Another thing I saw when I was reading around, they were talking about how a lot of this tournament right now, with the half the field being cut. I don't know if it's half the field, but the majority of notable figures being cut. What does a tournament like this do in the sportsbook's mind? Say Sergio wins it, or say Justin wins it, or a guy up here in the top 6 as far as favorites. Even a guy like Gary Woodland who's playing good golf too. What does that do for a guy's major odds, especially since we have the Players, not a major, and the Masters coming up real soon?
I don't think it changes it too much. It might push it a little of a little difference. Some people might start hitting it if he starts performing well in the first few rounds of it, and you might see a change then.
Because that's the thing I was wondering is, a person who's casually watching golf, oh, shoot, Ricky's won another one. He's got 2 wins this year. Oh, yeah. He's 25-1. Oh, we got to move him down to 15.
No, I don't think it'll move that much. I could see it move to maybe 22. Maybe.
Well, remember, sportsbooks I think also have to think in the mind of the bettor. Mm-hmm. I turn on my TV. Ricky Fowler's won his second event in 4 weeks here, and
if it was like a no-name, such as Tiger winning it, like how he did with the championship at the end of last year.
Tiger, never heard of her.
Yeah.
He said no name. I was like,
Well, no, like a no name, a known name.
Oh, a known name. Okay,
Oh.
I heard no name.
That's
so.
what I thought. Yeah, I was figuring you were going to get to your point, but no.
Well, Tiger's going to be.
He went from.
What are Tiger's odds right now for the Masters? I'll take a look at that.
12-1 or something.
Yep, you are right. You're correct.
Something.
If Tiger wins one of the next 3, the Players, Arnie, or what do they have? There's got to be something in between of interest. Or if he just wins one of those 2, I'd imagine he'd probably elevate to his favorite.
The Valspar.
Yeah, the Valspar.
He might drop down to 9-1 or 8-1. I mean, after he won the end of the year championship, He dropped from like 15 to 18 to 1 in
We did a whole fucking podcast
spots.
on him.
Yeah. He dropped down to 11 to 1, even 10 to 1 in some spots. Even 9 to 1 I saw for a brief second. And people are still betting on him.
Sure. Well, yeah. Again, that's one of
I
those.
mean,
I think that's one of those in the bettor's
At
mind.
25 to 1, realistically, I could see a move to 21, 22 to 1 if, like, Ricky wins.
Agree or disagree?
More unknown. This is not.
No, just
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
actually my thing was some of these players. If Justin Thomas wins, he's currently at a Masters.
12 to 1, I think.
He is 15 to 1. If he wins a tournament like this, playing well, picks up maybe one more, a couple of T5s, I guess,
probably drops
my
down.
question is
move a little
do
bit on
these Florida swing events or do these events that aren't necessarily, the majors or the big tournaments like the Players, do these have an effect on major odds betting? Because like I said, a casual
Briefly.
guy who comes on and says, man, Justin Thomas, every time I turn the TV on Sunday, he's in the top 5. Oh, wow, he's getting 15 to 1 over 4 different guys.
I would say if Schwartzel comes out and wins this tournament, then of course his odds drop dramatically. He's probably about a 75 to 1 right now to win the Masters.
Yeah, the longer the shot. I mean, certainly
Yeah.
the more.
Well, they're just going
movement
to
you can
protect
have.
their investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
In that spot, when you saw,
75 to 100
Charles
to 1.
Schwartzel's 150 to 1 to win the Masters. He's done it before.
Yeah.
Oh, I should play some on that. You probably drop $50, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might even drop a little more. Might even bring it down to 75.
All right, I will make you a deal, which I probably will never have to pay off. If Charles Schwartzel wins this week, which I think he's in the field,
Yeah.
I'll say he goes to 100 to 1. You say he goes to 75.
I could see going to 75, but 100 to 1 would be
see.
realistic.
Well, was that beep, 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 beep?
I'll do a gentleman's bet.
A gentleman's agreement. Huzzah.
Huzzah.
All right, so
I
anyways.
actually do like Schwartzel this week, so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll get shocker. Calm your tits. We'll get there. All right, let's comb through the faves a little bit. We talked about Justin Thomas. We're in layoff mode. Ricky Fowler won the event in 17. Adam Scott won the event in 16. Let's talk about those two guys who are next really on the pine here as far as the favorites. You got Justin, you got Ricky, you got Brooks Koepka, Adam, and Sergio in that mix right there. What do you like? What do you dislike about each of those guys? You don't have to go over everyone, but likes or dislikes on a few of those guys, and why or why not you'd be sprinkling a little money on them.
A lot to like with those names. So Fowler, this is exactly the type. I think, unlike Justin Thomas, this course fits his profile a lot more. He's much more of a grinder. Plot his way around the course, and he can make all of the shots, especially around the greens. He's certainly better than a player like Justin Thomas, who is no slouch, but. Ricky's a guy that in this type of event, it's not a surprise that he's not only won, but he's had a few other top tens as well. His record's quite good here.
He's got a lot of success.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a great spot for him. He's played relatively well this year. I mean, yes, barring the win, he had a bit of a slow start, especially as this calendar year started. He didn't play as much at the tail end of last year, at the beginning of the theoretical season, but. Ricky's always a guy that in a course like this, usually the harder the course, the weirder the condition, he's a guy you tend to want to have in a spot like this. But
Especially
again,
playing a lot in Europe and all that, too.
it's true. It's very true. So, but
Especially
again,
with the winds out there. And
yeah. The wind can be a big thing for him, but we haven't mentioned this yet. But the wind is supposed to be down this week compared to normal in most years.
still will have a
That
little
favors
effect.
the boomers too.
I think it does. I think it
Ball's
does.
not going to be blown around.
Yeah, so I think this makes Fowler less of a intriguing option, at least for me. And again, at 10 to 1, or still.
I like him more at 10 to 1 than even JT at 10 to 1 even.
Okay, fair enough. So, but I still think the field is strong enough, and there's enough quality spots and players down below where you can get significantly higher odds in the futures market than Ricky Fowler at 10 to 1, which is essentially what a favorite, an outright
I was gonna say,
favorite
usually
would be.
a favorite's around 10 to 1.
Exactly. So that's, in my opinion, again, a guy I like a lot. Would not be against a pick, somebody like that. Then you mentioned Brooks Koepka, who's I think a little bit more of a difficult scenario here. He's taken a schedule sort of hiatus, if you will, for the first half of the season. He's intentionally playing a lot less events. So I've stayed away from Brooks Koepka for the reason that this is a bit of an outlier season for him. He's always played a very, very large schedule early on in most seasons, and now he's doing something completely different. I know he's moved into a new house, and he's got, I don't know if he's engaged to be married, but I know he's been with the same person for a while, and he's kind of developing more of a personal sort of deal going on. I think that's the move for the schedule. And for guys like that, while he's still a great player, I've really decided to kind of take a little bit of a step back. He's a local player as well, just like Ricky Fowler. They both have houses within, I think, 20, 30 minutes of the course. So that certainly helps in this regard. But to me, it's just not enough in that spot. And then one last thing I just wanted to say quickly is Fowler and Justin Thomas are in the same group on Thursday and Friday. So I try to look at tee times as well to see if I know that players are friendly with each other or they practice together or something like that. And these two guys are very close friends outside of golf. So I think that could definitely help as well in the first couple of rounds. So I know I've been kind of anti not betting on some of the favorites in this course, but those two guys could very well one of them.
If one of them shows low, they're probably both going to show low.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking also if one of them starts, you kind of want to play with your buddies and impress. If one of them starts falling off the rails a little bit,
that can happen too.
It could snowball.
That can happen too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, either that or maybe he has one bad hole or whatever. He could pick him up or something.
All right, two guys I look at is, they're playing decent golf, but I mean, again, as a casual guy, I find it hard to trust them, especially Sergio, since the Masters win has seemed to be very up and down, and Adam Scott, again, from a casual standpoint, has been very, very quiet over the last few years. He did win this event in 2016, but there's always that back of your mind. You know Adam Scott, unfortunately, for one reason over another, and that's the putting issues.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, these guys are both 15-1 on William Hill. Any likes, dislikes, reasons you're betting, reasons you may be betting, or reasons you may stay off?
I'm going to stay off of them. But out of the two, I would lean towards more taking Adam Scott over Sergio. I think he relies on his putting a little too much with his swings and all that. Like being up and down, more of a down putter and all that. And I think maybe he'll start clicking it this week. So
good names again. Garcia both have an incredible records here, by the way. So Sergio's 8 for 8 making cuts in this event. 4 of those for top 15s, and again, a really good fit for what he is. Being such a pure ball striker and really being a smart player around the course. Surprising because his short game in and around the green is not always a plus, but really, really a good spot. He seems to be very comfortable here. With some of the stuff that's gone down, especially in Europe when he took chunks of the course and got disqualified, I'm not quite sure that he's completely over that. I know he just played very well in Mexico, but again, a spot where he has done well the last couple of years. So just based on his pedigree for the course, I could understand a liking for Sergio. I'm just not exactly 100% in the camp. Adam Scott is the first guy we can touch on where I'm a huge fan of this week. So the putting woes are well documented, but the statistics show differently this year. He's in the top 10 in 3 or 4 putting categories.
Okay,
he's one that could turn it around.
Yeah, a lot of people say or are thinking that he's one of the few guys that's putting with the flagstick in pretty much every time. So maybe that's helping him a lot with visual.
Sure, mentally, it's for sure helping.
Yeah,
one stat I found, and this is not going to help your cause, it seems to help my cause, is on putts between 4 to 8 feet, Scott is 215th on tour.
No good.
Yeah, that is not good.
No good. But he's at 4 straight top 15s here.
But he's played well
as well. Yeah, so he's starting to play really well. I think he's really kind of come around.
If he has one week where he starts clicking on those putts, I mean, he could turn that top 15 to a top.
Yeah, he won 3 years ago. So.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a little bit better. I'd feel more comfortable if this was a traditional windy weekend or windy week for him here. I think he would be better to play in a little more of the elements, being a native Australian. Yeah, they tend to be pretty good in the wind, and Adam Scott's no different than that. But I don't. I still think that with his game and what's going on and how well he's putting, if I didn't see the great putting from him
You
recently,
would fade.
I probably would fade. But here I'm actually doing the opposite. So I am a fan of him, even at his current number at 15. Although if you shop a little bit, you can get 16 in a few spots. So.
All right, so that's about we touched base on about the first 6 guys here. Any of those guys on your tickets right now?
I do not in futures bets.
I do have Adam. I have Scott at 16 to 1. So that is the highest favorite that I currently have on a futures ticket this week.
All right, let's take a look at the next crop, I would say, the next clump there. You got the Gary Woodlands at 18.
To 35 or something.
To about 35 and 40. About the Alex Noren range. Mm-hmm. What do we see in there? What are our likes? What are our dislikes? You've already mentioned Cameron Smith, so why don't you just start with that?
Cam's a guy I've been following now for 2 or 3 years. He doesn't look like much. He's a short, little, sawed-off Australian dude who doesn't speak very much and is pretty normal in what he does. But the only thing that's
he's pretty down there, pretty quiet though.
He does, yeah. He seems like a pretty regular guy. But the one thing that isn't normal is how well he gets around the course, and it's one of the great things I think about this fit. Now, this is his first time here, so it's always one of those weird spots. What do you do with first timers at courses, especially courses this difficult? But I love what Cam does on difficult tracks, worldwide too. Another very worldwide player, which I know Token had mentioned before. He likes a lot of the guys that play around the world, and I'm in 100% agreement with that, because I think it really shows a lot of well-roundedness, quality across different places, and and so it's
that's terrible. That is terrible.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Playing well right now as well. He's made 14 consecutive cuts as well around the world, and is just a horse. One of those, horse for a course type of guys. Nothing is too big for him.
Horse for a course.
Horse for a course. Yeah, I didn't come up with that. It's not my term, but
we're like, you should have trademarked that.
If it was mine, I would do so. But yeah, it's not. So he's a guy I'm interested in, and I like. Some of the other guys in this realm, we have Webb Simpson, who is, again, hate to beat a dead horse here consecutively, but he's
beat a dead horse course.
Yeah, but he's just a horse for this thing. He's got 6 top 20s in a row on the PGA Tour this year, dating back all the way to, I guess, October, November. This course here, great record. He's only missed 1 cut in 6 events. He was 5th here last year and didn't even have his A game at all. The one thing about Webb Simpson is, while his putting has gotten, I think that's pretty documented, it's gotten much, much better over the last 2 or 3 years. He putts significantly better on Bermuda grass greens, and we're finally on the Florida swing, where we're going to see pretty much all Bermuda going forward here. So this is the exact type of grass that he tends to putt the best in. He grew up in this vicinity area in North Carolina, where they play pretty much Bermuda as well. So it makes some sense, and a guy I like a lot here in the 20 to 1 range as well.
Yeah, on William Hill is 18 to 1, and at Westgate right now he's currently 22 to 1.
There you go.
So swing of 4 to 1.
$4.
Yep. Another name in that category that I do like is Billy Horschel. Not sure how he's going to do on this type of setup, but with
2 top 10s last 3 years.
Yeah.
Another Florida guy, too.
Yeah.
Another native Florida
He's very
guy.
Familiar with the area, familiar with how the gusts are and all that, too. And when he needs to go on a low run, he can do it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I actually got a guy in this list that I just bet this morning, and he's burned me a lot. But he's been playing some average golf here going into this. This course kind of fits him, which is what you were talking about. Alex Noren. This guy's burned me a few times.
I had a feeling that name was going to be so.
So I'm going to give him another shot. If he burns me again, he's blacklisted. But I got a few, we'll talk about later, I got a few things going with Alex Noren as far as my bets go. All right, let's talk long shots, because those are the most fun to hit.
That's really what people want to hear about. They want to be able to cash those big tickets.
Yeah, a guy I can't find him. Maybe you can find him offshore. Hopefully Sportsbook AG has him. He's unfortunately he's in the field, so if I can only find him in the field, I'm not going to bet him. But Two-time heart transplant recipient Eric Compton, who is now currently 697th in the world.
He Monday qualified.
And he qualified.
Yeah.
He finished T4 here in 2013. He hasn't competed in an event since 2016. Do we have any numbers on him that aren't field-related?
He Monday qualified, so it's possible that he might be left off even on some of the bigger offshores. I'm looking exactly right now because he's going to be in that 500-plus range.
Who was that?
Eric Compton. I do not have a number on.
If I can find a number on him
offshores.
before they tee off, I would like to bet it just as a feel-good story, and hopefully he is there on Saturday, and I'd like to have a nice sweat.
I have nothing on the site I'm on.
I may just bet the field hoping it's him then. Plus 360.
And grab 60 other players, too, for fun.
And
So,
there
yeah.
you go. Grab. So that is my...
I see
that is my
600 to
long
1.
600?
At Westgate, yeah.
No shit. There you
Oh,
go.
Westgate
and it's
put him up.
local, baby.
Good.
All right.
Good for
Well,
Westgate.
Westgate pretty much has every individual golfer for
I like how they added in Monday
They
qualifiers.
have Weekham at 600 to 1.
He's got to be the highest, right?
Highest is Andrew Filbert at 750 to 1.
Fuck that guy. He didn't have heart transplants.
Probably not.
All right, so that's my guy for the long shot. There's a few
That's
others.
a long shot.
There's a few others I like. One of the guys I like is Patton Kazire, 125 to 1. Knows how to kind of put together 4 good rounds, which I think is the tough, or is able to do. He's not a very consistent golfer, but from what I understand and what I read, this course tends to kind of be right up his alley, and he has a shot to go low. And at 125 to 1, I just want to be like you when I grow up and hit one of those. Mr. JB Holmes.
Or we can go deep and have the 600 to 1.
I'm going to go for that one, too. Hopefully they're battling on Sunday.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Seems
Wow.
unlikely, but that would be a nice
That
thing.
would be
That'd be
a
crazy.
great thing.
What about you guys? Long shot. Those are my long shots.
I only have one that I really like, and that's obviously Schwartzel.
Schwartzel.
Yeah. Coming off his top 10 in Puerto Rico and all that.
When you guys were canoodling, did he tell you he was going to play good this week?
He said he was going to play well.
I think you, Charles Schwartzel, and Louis Oosthuizen have a threesome every week.
Wow.
If Louis
Yeah, I
was
said it.
playing, if Louis was
He just
playing
loves
this
those
tournament,
guys.
I would fade him on this course, though.
Fair enough.
Go visit them in South Africa and have a good time. Yeah.
Don't call it Cape Town for
Another
nothing.
one that I would mention, just because the value I see on it, is Tringali again.
Cameron.
He got a sponsor's exemption, I think, in this one. He was not originally in the field, so
Yeah, he's
good
350
spot
to
for
1 or something like that.
good stuff. Yeah, I got a couple myself. We're back into finding some long shots again. I think last week was just one of those anomalies where it felt like a favorite heavy week, but this one definitely. There's 2 and 1 that's going to be a little bit of a blast from the past, but he's finally looks like he's turned around a little bit. I'll start with Brian Harmon, who has an excellent record this year, but is on pretty much everyone's avoid list for some quite good reasons. I must admit that. He had an absolutely abysmal 2018. There's no way around it. After really peaking in he had 3 top 10s in the majors in 2017, and he seemed like he was competing every week, at least close on the top of the leaderboard. He had a really miserable 2018 from top to bottom. He's always been a nice, well-rounded player, especially with a great short game, and the short game failed him a lot last year too. This year, starting out back in the previous calendar year, he struggled again all the way through. I want to say it was Pebble Beach, where he finally made a cut. He had missed 5 straight cuts, and he made a cut at Pebble Beach, and him and his amateur actually finished in the top 10, I believe, in that tournament, within. And then
William Hill has my long shot versus your long shot in the matchup bet.
oh snap!
I think we might have a gentleman's bet there.
There we go.
Kazire versus Harmon, 115 to 105.
And then in the Genesis, he finished in the top 20 or top 25, I believe. So it looks like he's finally starting to turn it around a little bit. And just the fit, it's all fit for me here. I wouldn't care that much unless this was a shorter, more difficult course. Brian Harmon is always going to just be better on shorter courses because he's one of the shorter hitters on tour. But 100 to 1, I'm not actually quite sure it's high enough odds, to be quite honest with you. I think
Westgate has him at 125.
Okay, so 125 is probably a better option, obviously, there. But he's one of the guys I like here. And then the another one who some may not have heard of, a guy named C.T. Pan, originally from...
Never heard of her.
Yeah, originally from the.
I'm guessing he's Asian.
He is. He's from Taiwan, but he's been here for a while now. He played golf at the University of Washington, and has made a home actually out here. I think he's got a couple of homes on the west coast or on the western side, and one of them is out here. He plays at TPC Summerlin, or at least that's where he practices, and has really become a rising star in regards to making cuts and cashing checks, basically. He's one of those guys. He was 23 of 25.
That kind of guy.
Yeah, 23 of 25 last year, making cuts on tour, which was second overall in percentage in cuts made. And the year before that, he was 22 of 25. So he's a guy that surprisingly just does not miss cuts. Last 2 years, he's both in the top 30 here in this tournament. He had a top 20 a couple of years back where he was in the second to last group on Saturday. He had a really, really nice Thursday and Friday. Another great fit guy. He's 5'8", 145 pounds. Doesn't look like much, doesn't do very much. I'm a little bit fortunate here. I was able to, not that I know him personally at all, but I hit in the driving range with him for about an hour in Summerlin when he was warming up for the tournament out here in Las Vegas, and he's a guy that is a really, really smart, heady individual, and it's no shock to me. Like, looking at his numbers now, especially in cuts made, no shock that he's consistently making cuts on tour, because he seems to understand the game extremely well. So, great spot for him here to find his first tour win, I think. 100 to 1, I believe, at most places.
William Hill dropped down to 75 to 1, but Westgate still has him at 100 to 1.
Gotcha. So there you go. And quick outside track here. I had Roberto Castro last week in Puerto Rico, and this week he's at 2 1/4. I think that's probably mostly abroad. And another southeastern player that plays well on Bermuda and on tough courses. So all of that. He's a shorter hitter. Short hitters reign here, so Roberto Castro potentially, if you are betting abroad at 2 1/4, I think might hold a little value. I haven't bet that one yet, but consideration at this point.
Okay. How do you think Schneider-Jans is going to do this week?
I didn't like how he finished last week.
That was
frustrating.
I don't have him on the list.
He's on Westgate.
He's in the field.
Yeah.
He's playing this tournament.
He is.
Yeah, 160 to 1 on Westgate, or you can take him in the field at William Hill.
Not as big of a fan this week.
I don't want to take him in the field, but
Yeah, I don't really like the fit as well. This is one of those.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
He had a good first round, second round kind of teetered off, and then third round kind of collapsed, and then
I don't see this CT Pan guy either. Oh, there he is, Chen Sung Pan.
Yeah, it might be
he's
his full name.
75 to 1
75 to 1. Yeah,
Yeah.
threw me off. I was looking for CT.
Yeah.
Got me.
There we go.
Yeah, there are some that have their initials and then some that have their full name.
All right, so let's review our futures bets.
Let's do it.
Who do we like? Who do we bet? Go.
Schwartzel at 60 to 1.
So all you're getting is 60 for Schwartzel?
Well, 66 on Westgate,
Okay.
but
All right.
yeah,
Yeah, William Hill's 60 to 1.
I see some value on that.
That's the only thing you're betting?
I have some matchups as well, but
Okay, we'll get to the matchups in a
Oh,
second.
just one future bet. Okay, I like how you're keeping it right in the family there with Schwartzel. So that's good.
Fucking weirdo.
I have 4, potentially 6, but I'll run the 4 quickly. Adam Scott at 16, Webb Simpson at 20, Brian Harmon. Apparently, I could have gotten 125, but I have him at 100.
still not bad.
CT Pan at 100. Consideration: Daniel Berger opened at 35 or 40 in one place, now down to 30. I'm upset and basically stewing because I didn't get it early enough. If he goes back to 35, I'll bet it at 30. I'm just not going to. And then Roberto Castro in consideration at 2 1/4. I want to see how he's practicing. He's a social media guy, so he usually kind of tells you what's going on. So I'm going to look today. So.
Yeah, I am obviously on the Eric Compton train, especially since if I can get it to 600 to 1. I'm also on Adam Scott. I got fired it at 15 to 1. I missed out on the dollar. I sprinkled $20 on Ricky Fowler just because he's won it 2 years ago, and effectively, like you said, he's got favorite money as far as his odds. And I went with Alex Noren, 40-1. Again, he's either going to burn me or, I mean, I'm okay if he doesn't win, but if I have him.
Don't
you know,
blacklist him.
I like to find him in a lot of matchups, and so I'll
Top
also
10 as well?
I'll get there. Well, yes. Oh, actually, we can just go there. I also I have 4 bets for the tops. Top 10, Thomas minus 210. I know that's a lot of juice to pay, but
Yeah.
I know you're just just close your mouth over there.
That's better than what I see at Westgate. So
The top 20 was minus 500. So
500.
so JT top 10, 210. That could burn me. Minus 210. The Adam Scott top 10 plus 125. I went with.
Yeah, that's what I see on Westgate.
I went with the Alex Noren. I went with top 20 at plus 160.
Oh, okay.
And then I went with my heart surgery guy. His top 20 is 15-1. So I went with him. If he can have a nice run, maybe he doesn't win, but a top 20 can still get me 15-1 odds, which is basically Adam Scott. So
I like it.
Adam Scott to win the tournament. So those are my matchup bets. How'd I do, Coach?
And I have 3 guys have written a void on here. One of them is Alex Noren. So, again, hey.
He has burned me enough, but some reason he's like a woman you just can't quit.
He's like Schwartzel for me almost.
It's
Yeah,
just
but you two are having sex.
all streakiness to me. He's a
He's
very,
very
very streaky player, and right now he's not on a
Streaking
good streak.
downwards.
So that's honestly the only thing. Obviously, I'll be rooting
Talk
for
about my man like that.
I don't have any matchup bets against him, so certainly if he does well, I'm rooting for, hoping for the best. But no, I think your stuff is solid. Actually, the interesting thing about these Monday qualifiers that have a lot of play on the PGA Tour. Obviously, Compton has been a longtime PGA member. Is that there can be some not only fire ready to go because he doesn't have his card and he's has to Monday qualify into events, but especially if he's playing really well. I mean, you probably don't just show up and shoot a 65, if you don't have anything going on. That's really hard to do on this course. So I'm guessing that there can be some good spots. I've never studied this. I don't know anything about it. But I saw because I always look at the Monday qualifiers, when I saw Compton's name, because he's obviously a well-known name, I was like, wow, that's kind of a thing. So it was in the back of my mind. I never actually checked the odds or whatever until you just brought it up. But
Anybody going to Westgate? I might need to give you some money.
I'm probably not headed that way.
I got it in the app, so you can.
There you go.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. So no, that's my favorite of all your bets. I think Compton top 20. Let's do
20,
it.
15-1.
There we go.
I like
Perfect.
it.
All right, matchup bets. You want to talk about that? You said you had a few. I said save them. All right, now's the time.
One that I like is let's get the favorite out. Schwartzel over McDowell, minus 105. Another one I like is Horschel over Berger at minus 110.
I love burgers.
Yep. Fowler over JT at plus 125.
Yeah, I saw. Actually, no, I saw. Did I see it? I thought it was bigger than that, didn't it?
No, it was 125.
Or JT's minus 145. He's plus. Yeah, Fowler's plus 125.
And then Koepka over Garcia at
I like that
110.
Fowler bet. I looked at that too.
And then Koepka over Garcia at minus 110. Now, another one that I saw in Westgate, Schwartzel over Wallace at plus 110.
No, that's scary.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Matt Wallace is so unknown because he's played so well around the world, and he's a grinding Brit. And I don't know, grinding Brits, guys like, I know we both like Tyrrell Hatton and guys like that are just, I don't know, I'm kind of scared by that. I know you have the Schwartzel thing going on, and I get that, but I would your other Schwartzel bet that you mentioned, I think is more comfortable than Matt Wallace.
McDowell.
Charles
Yes.
Schwartzel flies out here on a private jet to see Anthony, and they go into a private room and they pull a Bob Kraft.
Too soon?
Never
No.
too soon.
Okay.
I have no feelings.
Nice.
Never too soon.
I heard some Patriots haters went down to the massage
A lot of people
parlor or
went and took
whatever.
selfies, and people.
Oh, jeez, good
Yeah,
life.
yeah, exactly.
Well, isn't it amazing how Fowler is that big of a dog against really anybody?
Yeah, I know.
And of course, he's one act and he's
Especially
done
coming off
great.
of second
He's the
place
second
finish.
favorite, but they put him up against the favorite, and he's literally 60
125.
cents worse, or 60 cents better, however you look at it.
Kind of amazing. Yeah, no.
About
that's
you,
Crazy
dog.
good.
That one intrigued me as well. I didn't actually write it down, but it's almost unavoidable if you can get Fowler for some sort of number like that.
take a
But,
shot at it, yeah.
Take a shot.
I
for
would say
sure.
plus 110 or better against JT. Take it.
My first one, well, I have two of them against this player. This is the most anti-public thing you can be on basically this week. Is I'm anti-Gary Woodland this week, which I know he's like an incredibly popular pick, and it makes a lot of sense.
Well.
He's playing really well. He now lives in the area. He's played well at this course before. I think there's a lot of reasons to be anti. For the first one is that
Fade the public.
I think the public has overdone it. Yes, that's one point. The second one is he has played well for a very long, extended time, and this has never happened in his career. So there's never been a time where he's made 6 top 10s in 10 events in his career, and that's currently where he's at. And to me, Gary Woodland has been a guy that when the chips fall, he has not been mentally there. He's blown a bunch of leads throughout his career, and I'm not convinced that Gary Woodland is this new player who is going to be dominant on a week in and week out basis. And I think this specific week where you have to be so dialed in, not only in a ball striking sense, but in and around the green, I don't think this is a good week for Gary Woodland. It would be much better if he was able to kind of bomb it and let it go and kind of do what he's done the last 6-7 months on these courses that are relatively wide open compared to this one. I think this is a bad fit. I think it's a bad spot for Gary Woodland. So I have 2 against him. Webb Simpson over Gary at plus 105. That's at Westgate. That one's in. Adam Scott over Woodland at plus 110. That's stealing. That's ridiculous. I think it's down to like minus 105 now or something like that. But that was pretty awesome. And then I'll just reel off a bunch here. Daniel Berger over Emiliano Grillo minus 105. CT Pan over Jim Furyk minus 110. I'm considering Brian Harman over Sung Kang plus 110. I kind of need to take a little bit of a closer look at Brian Harman if he's actually ready to go, or if we just want to take a flyer on the future bet.
Sung Kang is better than no Kang, so.
Yeah.
Adam Scott over Sergio Garcia, plus 115. And a weird one, just a couple of random players. Brian Stewart over Nick Taylor, minus 110. That is all fit. Stewart is an old grinder, short hitter, and Nick Taylor is a bombing, weird, tall Canadian. And I think that this is a Stewart fit and not a Taylor fit.
Fair enough. All right, well, that's going to put a book on the it's going to put a bow on the end of the Honda Classic here for us. Obviously, keep track of Vegas Square's Twitter. If we get some matchup bets round to round, we'll try to put those out there as well. One more thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here, and I know you're just chomping at the bit.
Oh, yeah.
The Color Guard Classic.
The token.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. I didn't see that coming.
What? I didn't either. Wow.
I'm just going to turn. I'm going to turn my mic.
For that.
I'm going to turn my mic down. It's all you guys.
Oh, yeah. One I liked for that. I like
you got to stay close to your mic if you want to talk.
I like one player in that, and that's Miguel
Angel Jimenez.
Yep. Most interesting man in golf, and I like him in a matchup for sure as well.
Over Jerry Kelly?
Yep.
Minus 115.
Yep.
Oh, you're on that. Okay.
I literally was just looking at it.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yep.
I've been looking at all the matchup bets, and I just happened to be right there.
Yep. Yeah, I took a look at all the futures for all this week and for all the tournaments, and I like that one. He's 20-1.
Fair enough. Hey, there's nothing wrong with betting the Color Guard or the Oman Open or the HSBC Women's Championship. If you can find value, if it's there, I will. I want to hear about it.
MB Park, I would be on too for the.
Oh my goodness!
One.
Token bringing his game today. I like it.
Careful how you phrase your betting with women's golf. I'd be all over that one. Yeah.
Maybe not in B, but yes.
Is there any hot golfers? I know like Brittany Lincecum was on. Michelle Wee has developed nicely, yes, but I still see her as a 15-year-old. Well, look, she was like a huge 12-year-old when she was on tour. So
yeah, that's true.
I still have that image, unfortunately.
Well, Danielle Kang is a local Las Vegan, and she is, I think, on the upper tier of niceness. So
I'm Googling it, right?
I figured you probably would.
You'd be disappointed if I didn't.
I would be. That would be a thing. But yeah, there's definitely I mean, well, I'm in. I'll admit, maybe this is just more my own jam, but I like the athletic, more sort of deal like that. And Alexi Thompson just sort of does it for me. I know that might be kind of a weird, kind of scary thing for some others, but
I'm about to find out.
I'm certainly in. She also is a big Instagrammer and posts her workouts and things like that, and she really gets after it. So I'm a huge fan. Yeah, I know. I figured I'd get a look from someone in that regard, but that's
not terrible. I can't hate too much.
If she can hit the ball further than I can and be more consistent, that's a big thing for me. So yeah,
actually, I think I found a good one.
Okay, well, fair enough. So yes, there are a selection of good ones, but you said are you betting on futures as well on the color guard or any of these token? What's your what is all your action at least on this stuff or your
future for the color guard? I already have it at 21 for Jimenez.
So you have Jimenez at 20. Is there anybody else you're interested in?
Not in that one. For the Women's Classic, I just looked in NB Park's 21, so I'm going to lay that.
NB.
Yeah, put that bet in.
20. Yeah, I have not looked. I mean, I've looked briefly at both events, but yeah, nothing more so.
No, I just have that matchup with Jimenez.
Belen Mozo.
Another matchup I like for the Honda one to get you guys take on before
her stomach's flatter than a putter.
Bet it.
Wow.
Would be Koepka over Thomas at 155 to 1 plus 155. I wouldn't feel as confident as Ricky.
Which site was that on?
Westgate.
Westgate plus 155.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't feel as confident as the Ricky Fowler one, but
yeah. But I mean, this just Justin Thomas love, even on the matchup bets, is inane. It's incredible. Yeah, it's utterly obscene. I mean, this is the number 2 player in the world, Brooks Koepka, or at least he was as of last week. Like,
now the question
what's going on?
What's a better spot? Grabbing a guy against Justin for the tournament, or trying to find good matchup bets? Do you think the value is going to be better, one or the other, or
could be both?
Philosophical trick question.
Is that a trick question? What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of fading Justin Thomas?
Could honestly be both. I mean, it just depends how they play this week and all that. I mean, if you like a good matchup and all that, I really like the JT and Ricky Fowler one though.
Yeah, I mean it's a great question. It's a difficult question to answer because I think you can go at matchups a few different ways, and I tend to have a list of players that I am a huge fan of, and I tend to have a list of players that I want to avoid. Mm-hmm. And then there's a really large list of people that I'm just sort of like flatline with. I'm okay. If there is a certain selection of players that I'm a huge fan of, I don't really care who they're matched up against, as long as it's something reasonable and they are not a heavy favorite. Obviously, you ideally want one of the players you're a fan of versus one of the avoids, and you get that situation. But to me, I'm pro the player and the course and understanding the fit and who will work best. So I tend to work from that area and then work backwards. But to me, I think it's good to go both ways at times. If you really believe that some guy is tremendously overvalued and you're just going to try to find some value with good players against a guy like Justin Thomas this week, I have no problem betting it across the board. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Actually, all matchups would be plus money against him.
Exactly.
Because the second favorite is plus money.
For sure. So.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Yes, but if you want more names on the LPGA Tour, I can certainly provide those to you if you'd like. Okay.
I need to clear my search history.
Fair enough.
All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Let's put a stop to it. I'll go. I have something to Google when I get home. Just kidding. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Good luck, whatever you take, and it's going to be a fun weekend. Any parting shots, thoughts, comments, or concerns about your betting, the course, what to watch for, who to watch, where to watch, why to watch?
For love of the game.
Okay, cool. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank the sponsors again. 12-Ounce Sports Radio, Vegas Puckline Apparel. I don't know. I just thought maybe there was something you wanted to say, and clearly I was incorrect.
It didn't work out.
Clearly I was wrong.
Drive for dough, putt for show.
I think it's reversed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Tokens had a rough 30 seconds here. That's okay.
All right, who did I think? Eric on Web Productions, ChaiPoker.com. Obviously, want to thank 12 Ounce Sports Radio again. We are on every Monday and Wednesday. All of our podcasts are available on VegasSquares.com. We will catch you on the next one. Thanks for listening.